Has this ever happened to you?
Okay, I see you're pretty good. Now I'm gonna really start playing.
What do you mean? What?
Yeah, I practiced that move 26 hours yesterday. I've been on the grind.
I just started.
Don't worry, it's gonna come with practice. I've been playing for like a month straight.
The game came out last week.
Daylight savings time.
I don't like fighting games. Maybe some of you out there are in the same boat as me. Maybe there are some avid fighting game fans who clicked out of anger, curiosity, or even boredom. Hopefully all of you are cool with me rambling about a genre that, although I've tried many times to become invested in, I find myself never being a huge fan of. My introduction to fighting games began with the genre's titan, the fighting game for a lot of people, Super Smash Bros., specifically Melee. At the ripe old age of 4, I'd often play with my uncle or any other family members I could rope into the experience, because I had no friends. At age 4, the idea of something such as actually trying to string combos together and outplay the opponent wasn't even a thought in my underdeveloped brain. I played as Link, only because I liked The Legend of Zelda and he was one of the few characters I even recognized at that point. A general lack of understanding of mechanics led to button mashing, and the giant green button on a GameCube controller was the most obvious piece of plastic to become acquainted with my thumb. Coincidentally, if you mash A with Link while standing still, you get to do this. This very quickly became the only move in my Link's arsenal, because it was the only thing I ever remembered how to do. And this is one of the problems I have with fighting games. That one move, or Tom for short. Hi Tom. Not all moves in fighting games are created equal. Every time, without fail, each character or archetype will have that one move. Normally either their most overpowered, iconic, or annoying move to deal with. The best Toms are all three. Eventually, after weeks of spamming Link's sword stab, and only that move when playing against my family, no one wanted to play Melee with me anymore, or any fighting game for that matter. I had inadvertently Tommed them into a hatred for the genre. This is partly because of the inherent competitive nature underlying all fighting games. Without even mentioning the rampant toxicity that can stem from this competition, I often see a large gap between players who spam one move over and over versus players that practice combos instead of eating breakfast. I think a lot of the fun of fighting games is supposed to come from a mastery of their mechanics and a honing of your own skills. Skill gaps, however, are far more apparent in the head-to-head setting fighting games place you in. Often the gap will be so large you'll either completely wipe your opponent off the face of the planet, or get 360 no-scoped from the top of Rust. Either way, it's just not fun. I've never actually had a tense match with a lack of toxicity where the skill level was relatively close enough that things really came down to the wire. Either the gap was too large or one side was way too full of themselves, making the experience just frustrating instead of enjoyable. I think one of the main things holding a lot of fighting games back from a bigger casual fan base is a lack of single player content. I know. It sounds dumb. Fighting games are meant to be played against other real people. There's no fun in playing them alone. The only game I know of that does something different than just, here's the classic arcade style of back-to-back 1v1 fights with a mediocre story to tie everything together, is Smash. Say what you will about Adventure Mode in Melee or World of Light and Ultimate, at least they're different. You'll go from fighting against multiple enemies to metal enemies that are harder to knock off the stage, items being thrown around, giant versions of enemies, and a ton of other cool stuff that actually makes the single player aspect interesting, thanks in part to Smash's dedication to being a party game first and a fighting game second. And this isn't to say I haven't tried a decent variety of fighting games, I could just never really find one that I enjoyed. I've tried Melty Blood, Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, Lego Star Wars, Brawlhalla, FighterZ, Multiversus, Street Fighter, Skullgirls, and so many more. And yet I just haven't found one that I actually enjoy, and I always end up quitting shortly after starting. This all sort of upsets me because while fighting games themselves don't appeal to me, I see all this cool stuff happening within the fighting game community, and it seriously feels like I'm missing out, and I'd want nothing more than to try and be a part of it. Is there something wrong with me? Has anyone else out there hopelessly tried fighting game after fighting game, desperate to discover a hidden gem that they actually enjoy and are willing to sink hours into? Does anyone have any recommendations, or am I just a salty loser who hates the feeling of not winning? Who knows, but make sure to tune into my Twitch where I'll be streaming Super Smash Bros.